Okay. I still have the video of us flexing. I'm gonna post it. Yeah. What up, dude?
What up? What up? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I wasn't worried about your sound quality. Usually we tell guests to wear headphones at least. I was like, oh, he's gonna have a setup, so it'll be solid.
That's what's up. That's what's
Yeah.
up. How you guys
This
doing?
good, man. That's my buddy Tim.
Hey, how you doing
Hey,
today?
not bad. How you doing, Tim? Nice to meet you,
Good.
man.
Yeah, we appreciate your time today. You having a good week so far and everything?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been busy already, but I mean the weather's been decent. Like I actually
Mhm.
enjoyed it rained early, but it's just so beautiful now because of it. So
Yeah,
I'm happy.
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. And where are you based out of?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Kind
Nice.
of the
Okay.
due north actually, like right on the north of the outer belt.
Very nice. Yeah, I've never been, but I've heard great things about it. I know people that live there, and I'm considering going there in September for a pickleball tournament. So we'll see.
Okay, okay. You get down on the pickleball thing?
Yeah, recently.
He's a champion,
Just another
actually.
thing I can do to occupy my time. So yeah.
He's got
That's
four
what's
gold
up.
medals on the dresser over here. So
Okay,
don't
okay.
let him fool you.
So you guys are both athletes, huh? Okay. I
Yes,
like
Yeah.
sir.
that.
Well, I don't do the pickleball. I think it's a dangerous sport.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
For
cracking up at
joints
Chris's
or
comment.
what?
I pulled a hamstring a few years ago doing it,
Dang,
like real
dude.
bad too. It wasn't a joke. So I don't pickleball. I do the post tournament interviews though with Tim. So
Yeah.
yeah, we,
Okay,
we use
okay.
it for content now.
Andy gives me like the diet plan, exercise plan, everything I need to prepare. So
Yeah,
he's got me covered
the
there.
steroids, HGH.
All the
That guy.
juice.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Trend.
Just
Cool,
some
cool.
ox pickleball player out here. Um, yeah, dude. So appreciate your time today. Glad we finally got to chop it up. I know it's been a while since we got on some mics. Um, but the way it works, as I said in my email too, after we're done, Tim and I record an intro, like 2-3 minutes, just introducing who you are, what we talk about. And then we'll send you everything from written show notes. We do a lot of video clips too that you can use however you want. We're going to post them. If there's anything throughout it, when you go back and listen to it that you don't want in there, let us know. But we try to keep it pretty raw. Anything goes. So
Yep.
yeah, all
Cool.
detours are welcome.
Cool. I'm the same way. No topics are off limits. I don't care.
Cool.
Ask me anything, man. So
Cool.
yeah.
Looks like you look good. You look like you lost a little weight.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm getting skinny, man. It's weird. Like I can't lift as much as I used to, so
Yeah.
that's changed. It was a mental thing actually having to change shirt sizes because I
Mm,
was up to a large and I was getting to the point where like my waist was small, but I had to get my shirts tailored in order for them to look good, or else it was like super baggy in order for it to
gotcha.
like fit my arms. But
Yeah.
now I'm wearing like a medium and sometimes a small, and like the small like really messed with my head, dude. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I would be the same. Like going down a shirt size, that would fuck me up a little bit.
It was gnarly.
Yeah.
You still like working out and stuff though, doing a bunch of upper body things. You got equipment at the house, or you go to the gym, or what are you doing?
So I've got stuff at the house, but it's in my basement, and I don't have a good way to get down there. So I'll
Oh,
hit some free weights sometimes, but mostly it's just pushing around the neighborhood because the thing that's been frustrating is you always have an imbalance with lifting anyway because you have like a dominant hand.
mm-hmm.
Well, my left was like significantly impacted by my accident, and so now I feel like really imbalanced, and so it makes lifting not enjoyable. And I also don't have like core strength. And
Got
so
it.
it's like
Got it.
the only lifts I can really do are like shoulder integrity stuff. And if I like, there's no point in me to bulk up because all that does is add weight and puts pressure on my butt, which is like a problem. I don't want pressure
Oh, makes
sores.
sense.
So
Okay, I wouldn't have thought about
yeah.
that.
So cardio has really been my thing, man, because I don't
Yeah.
have blood flow going. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to get my blood pumping as much as I can since my legs aren't moving.
Fair
So I
enough.
just push around the neighborhood.
So when I'll see like super jacked dudes in a wheelchair, that's really not good long term for like lower
Uh,
half.
I don't think so. So there are different schools of thought. So you could argue that metabolically it's better because more muscle mass, more like mitochondria functioning highly, just creates a overall healthy body.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, um, I wanted to decrease the amount of weight that I have sitting because like skin integrity is a problem because you don't have blood flow. And so
Okay.
people really easily get pressure sores from like, even just like if they're sleeping and their heel rests in one spot for too long, they'll get a pressure sore. Or I got the start of one. It's the only one I've ever had. I was reading a book and I was just leaning forward, just like holding the book out
Yeah.
back. I did that too long, and the back of my leg where it was pressing on my wheelchair seat started to get a pressure sore. And I was like,
Mm.
Kidding.
wow. Yeah, man. It only took like
Wow.
10 minutes.
Damn. Well, I
That's why I'm
was
so
gonna,
shifty.
yeah, I was gonna ask your mindset with all the accident stuff. You know, we don't need to get like super, super deep into it, but maybe if you want to brush on it for listeners, because you know, they're like, what are you guys talking about? Oh, now he's in a wheelchair. So we'll give them a little more than you know, just our topics, but I do want to get into mindset around it. But yeah, if you want to just kind of briefly do a drive-by of you know, kind of what happened, and yeah, I'd love to get into some mindset things with that.
Yeah, for sure, man. So January 26th of 2019, I was in Bancroft, Canada with some friends. Me and Kelsey were staying with 16 people. Kelsey's my wife. We were staying with 16 people in a cottage, and my buddy had snowmobiles. He's got like 40 acres, trails and stuff like that. And there's a lake out back of the property that is adjacent to like, you know, other properties nearby. Um, Thought we were being safe. I got up early. It was the second day that I went out, and I was like, okay, before we start drinking and stuff, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get some snowmobile time in because I don't get to do this.
Right.
And we're going around the lake because there are no obstacles, right? No trees you can run into, no anything like that. So the snow was like up to your waist, and it was crazy. It was a great time. And at this time, I was literally in the best shape of my life, and I honestly think that's what kept me alive. Is like my body was able to kind of take the hit or whatever happened. But going around the lake, and the neighbors had a dock that was unmarked. They had just built it, and it was covered in snow. And so I was unable to see it until I was, you know, way too close, and just couldn't stop in time. And woke up on my back. You know, people were around me. I didn't feel anything at the time, like no pain whatsoever.
Wow.
And they're like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, you know, just kind of laying there, like I'm good. And at the time, both my hands were good, so I was just kind of like, I feel weird, but
Mhm.
you know, good to go. And they were like, "Well, dude, let's hop back up, get the day started, get some beer pong going, and you know, let's get going." And went to stand up, and nothing happened. And like, there's the most surreal feeling. I would never forget what that was like for the first time, because you stand up and you've been doing it since you've been, I don't know, a baby, like, you know, 2 years
Right.
old. Whenever you could first stand, it's just automatic. And so I went to stand up, and I was like, whoa. I was like, guys, like, it's not working. Like, it won't. And then I went to do it again, and I was just like, what did I do? And that's all that I could say to myself. It's like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And like this girl, Nicole, was just petting my face, and she was like, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And it was kind of a blur. And the next thing I know, there was uh, paramedics came out there. And it was interesting because we were like deep into the woods, and they had to snowmobile the paramedics out there. They put me on a stretcher. They carried me about quarter of a mile through the woods or so. And you know, at this time my clothes were cut off and stuff. They injected me with fentanyl, which is crazy.
Mhm.
And put me in an ambulance, put me in a helicopter after that. um, and I went and had surgery. So spinal decompression and fusion. uh, it's a 5-hour surgery. And I'm fused from C4 to T3 with a C7 spinal cord injury. And that was the last day I walked.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's not probably doesn't ever be an easy one to bring up, but um I know when I was on your show, you that was the first time I had heard it too. But it seems like since then your mindset has gotten so much more positive and tougher. And I would, you know, as much as you care to share, take us through that evolution of the mindset changes. Because for me, like, you were an athlete too, best shape of your life. Like, I couldn't imagine not doing all the things I do currently, you know. So like that would ruin me. So I'm very interested how you battled through some of that, and now you're on, you know, on the side of the light with, you know, you got a lot of things going for you. You're doing awesome. Like, you're still moving, you're very active. So take us through that a little bit.
Appreciate that, man. uh it's still an ongoing journey.
Mhm.
um it started in the hospital. I was very optimistic. I didn't know what a spinal cord injury was. They told me I broke my neck. And that's the crazy thing. I broke my neck and I broke one rib. And other than that, I was uninjured. Not even like really a scratch on my face, like just like a little bit, like a little scratch on my cheek. Other than that, like unfazed. And, they're explaining stuff and they're like, hey, yeah, you're going to have to get a cushion, for the rest of your life. You're going to have to start physical therapy. I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I just broke my neck. I broke my wrist before and, put me in a cast. It healed a couple of weeks. I was good to go. And they're like, oh, no, like, this is going to be life altering. And I was like, oh, okay. And, at the time, I was about 165, maybe, no, I was 175 at that time. I gotten up higher because I naturally carry like 155, but I gotten up pretty big. I was like 175 and I could bench 285 at the time. And I was just, I don't know. I loved working out. I was thinking about doing a physique competition. And I went from that to not being able to pull a tissue out of a tissue box with my right hand, my dominant hand. And I was too weak for that. I was too weak to brush my teeth. My wife had to brush my teeth. I couldn't use my left hand at all. It didn't even move. I couldn't tell where my feet were in space. I couldn't use the bathroom on my own. When I was in the hospital, every couple hours, they come and they do this test on you for sensation, where they poke you with pins and they touch you with a Q-tip, see if you can feel pain or light sensation. So tell where your injury is and if things are progressing. And they would do that every 2 hours. So they would wake me up out of sleep, which like I wasn't really getting anyway. And they would poke me with pins, turn the lights on, brush me. And where I did feel it, it hurt. And where I didn't feel it, I was like, oh shit, I don't feel it. And so that was a mind fuck. I was in the hospital there for 2 weeks, which is crazy. And they're telling me all this stuff about, how my life's going to change, and still didn't really like comprehend it. And then I take a 20-hour, I think it was 20-hour ambulance ride back to Columbus, Ohio, where I got to rehab I was in there for 2 months total, but I thought I was going to walk out of that place. I was like, oh yeah, rehab, you go there and they'll get me back right. Like I'll heal up, I'll be good to go. And time kept passing and that kept not being the case. And these different physical symptoms kept manifesting. And so there's something called autonomic dysreflexia. And basically what that means is if you have pain or something that's irritating you below the level of your spinal cord injury, then your body reacts by just spiking your blood pressure. And it's just not really good for the body. Like your head hurts, like, and if it persists, like people die from it. So the key is to like stop whatever's doing that, lower the blood pressure and like get it in check. And, that started to manifest. Temperature regulation. So I was always cold, like freezing cold. No matter what the temperature was in the room, I was always cold. I could never get warm. So they try to put blankets on me and stuff. And so that's a mind fuck. And, to use the bathroom, I'm having to get intermittent catheterization, which means every couple hours they're sticking a tube in my penis. And these are different people I've never met in my life, just coming in,
right.
It's, hey, how you doing? Come
Take
here.
me to dinner first or something.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, there's that mental aspect of it. And like, and then the shit, I had to use a suppository actually at the time. And that was an experience that would take about an hour and a half, and they would sit me on basically a plastic bedpan, and I would have to sit there for like an hour and a half. And if that didn't work, they'd have to use digital stimulation, which like sounds like a dope band name or something, or like, but it is not. A digit means fingers, and it's not something I really got down on. You know what I mean? It wasn't my kink. I don't kink shame, but it wasn't for your boy.
At least you know what you like.
You know what I mean? But man, so there's all of that playing, and I'm doing physical therapy, and my left hand's not working. After a couple of weeks, I could kind of brush my teeth, but really still weak, really still like not able to move. I could barely curl 3 pounds, which was a mind-blowing experience. When the lady was telling me about the workouts we were going to do, and she's like demonstrating, how to do curls and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm good to go, thinking in my mind. And then she hands me this 3-pound weight, which I thought she was just demonstrating with. Nah, she's like, yeah, we're using that. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you know, I look at
Yep.
my arm, I look at her, I'm kind of like, you know,
Don't
I
assault
got
me.
3
Yeah.
pounds. Yeah. And she's like, no, no, no. Like your nerves aren't gonna fire the same way.
Mm.
She's like, trust me. And I go to lift it up and it felt like 50 pounds. And I was like, whoa, this is deeper than I thought. And so that's starting to set in. The weeks go by, the weeks go by. I'm slowly getting better, but I'm not walking. I'm not using the bathroom the right way. I still can't feel where my feet are in space and stuff. And eventually that time comes to an end. And there was a day where you stay in what's called the independent living apartment. It's a 1 day experience where you and you know, your family members, so it's just me and my wife, you stay in like a mock apartment to try to understand what life's going to be like at home. Like, here's how you use your bathroom. You're going to have to use different chairs. You're going to have to figure out how to navigate transferring and stuff like that, and showering on your own. Because before they were hoisting me out of bed into the air because they had this, you know, ceiling system. I don't have that at my house.
Sure.
So we got to figure it out. And yeah, man, I get 1 day of that before I practice. And then I go home, and I thought home was going to be like normal, you know? And I hadn't been to my house. I left in January. I got home. We celebrated my wife's birthday. Her birthday's March 20th. We celebrated her birthday with me in the hospital. So I left, you know, thinking I was going to be gone for a couple of weeks, and got back a season later and it was different. And it was not home. You know, I couldn't reach the cabinets. Couldn't go downstairs. My gym equipment was downstairs. I have a squat rack with, you know, full bench. I'd given up my gym membership because I had everything I needed down in the basement, and I couldn't get down there. And if I could, it didn't matter anyway because I couldn't use the stuff. And that was my church. I was not a religious man. That was where I went to find peace, to relax, to let off steam. And that was taken away from me. And I get home and I'm looking at people around me. I see people who are obviously not taking care of their bodies, and I'm judgmental. I'm like, you don't know what gift you have, and you eat this garbage, and you sit on your ass all day, and you watch television. You're scared to work out. You think it hurts. Like, you wish you could feel pain, or you're lucky you could feel pain. You know, I wish I could feel pain. So I got judgmental. I was never that. I was a happy-go-lucky guy, man. I was always like having a good time, meeting people, bouncing around. I think for the most part, people would say that. I got depressed, man. Like, I was taking golf lessons, and that was taken away from me. I was DJing, and I couldn't use my hands anymore. I it was sadness, man. I remember a buddy of mine gave me his HBO login. He's like, "Yo, watch Game of Thrones, man. You know, it's a good series. You can get lost in it." But he was on season 8. He forgot season 1 starts with old dude getting pushed out of the tower and getting paralyzed.
Oh,
And
fuck.
having to sit in a wheelchair.
Man.
And I was like, "Oh shit!" And like, the Family Guy was my favorite cartoon before. I watch that now. I'm looking at Joe Swanson. They're making fun of him and stuff. I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm Joe
Yeah.
Swanson." You know what I mean? So like,
Oh.
bro, everything was just hitting the wrong way. And that coupled with this autonomic dysreflexia started really bothering me at one point. Every time I had to use the bathroom, which is like I had the catheter pretty often because my bladder capacity got really small. Like every 2 hours, I would wake up while I was sleeping, and I'd have this pounding headache. It was like every time my heart beat, it felt like my head was going to explode, and I couldn't like see, I couldn't think. I just broke down crying, dude. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, it persisted like that for like 2 weeks. I went to the doctor. We tried different medicines, and I'm not a medicine guy. Like, I don't enjoy pharmaceuticals. I try to heal myself, eat right, and, you know, take supplements where I need them. So I was like, dude, give me anything, please. And we tried everything, and it didn't work. And I was like, well, if this is what life's gonna be like, and my future's gone, you know, I don't know if I'll be able to run with my kids. I don't know if I'll be able to, like, you know, go on vacation with my friends. Like, what's the point if I can't, you know, why go see the world if you can't fucking walk around? I can only go to the parking lot. It was over, man. I made the decision. I was like, and that was the crazy part, I couldn't really fucking kill myself the way I really wanted to. I couldn't go jump off a bridge. I couldn't get to a bridge. I couldn't drive anywhere. I couldn't shoot myself. I couldn't squeeze a gun at the time. Like I had no hand strength to do so. I probably didn't have the strength to stab myself. Like it was mind blowing. And so I don't know. I had come up with a method and I was going to do that. And at one point I was like, man, if this is as bad as it's going to be, and I love fucking living. Like I love life so much. I was like, if this is the worst it gets, like it has to get better, right? Like I was like, if this is rock bottom, the only option from there is up. And that was just kind of something that sat in the back of my mind, even though it still was like painful, and I was still kind of like, it's over. And then I kind of remember there's a friend of mine said something to me at one point. He's like, bro, every problem that exists is not unique. He's like, someone's had it and they probably wrote it down in a book. And I was like, all right. Someone's had this problem before. Let me go see. The worst that can happen is I confirm that it's the worst shit ever, and I continue with the plan, you know? So I started reading everything. All kind of philosophy, different religions and stuff. And Man's Search for Meaning was one of the most impactful books. It's by Viktor Frankl, and he experiences the Holocaust, loses many family members, sees people dying every day and stuff. And basically he just talks about, the extraordinary luck that can sometimes befall the individual, and how you have to live to see that day. And it was only the hopeful who remained. And, when you have nothing else and you have no other way out, you're challenged to change yourself. And so those ideas really like resonated with me. And I was like, look, there are people who live with this. I didn't always have these headaches. I can maybe deal with this. I've been dealing with it for a couple weeks. Like, what can fuck with me now? And that sat with me. I read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. Like the shit that he went through, like, running races with broken legs, shitting himself and stuff, and mentally pushing himself through that. And I'm like, if that's the capacity of the mind, who's to say that mind can't do that? Like, why can't I force myself to be that strong? Because the other option is I opt out. Like once you kind of like make that decision, it's kind of freeing in a way, I guess. So like after that point, I started to just look at life differently. I did come to spirituality. Like I'm still not religious, but I do believe that there's one creator and everything's perfect. And it'll take me a lot to, get you there ultimately, but it might not make sense to all. But there's a day I was sitting out back. I would just sit on my deck, and we had a small garden, and I noticed on one of the flowers there was a spider web that popped up, and it was catching different bugs that were flying around the flowers and stuff. And then I noticed like little birds would dart and try to catch the bugs that were flying around the flowers and stuff too. And I was like, man, this is a perfect little ecosystem, and everyone has its role. They fill it perfectly, yet on some scale it's chaotic for each one of them. And you remember that quote about the spider, the fly. I think it's what's normal to the spider is chaotic for the fly. And I was like, man, what if this is just like that on a different scale? Like, what if, to me it feels like chaos, but on a grand scale it's perfect? And just a couple of those different ideas, man. And so like when I say like I read, it seems simple to people. They're like, oh, like reading books. But I'm like, no, what I did was assimilate millions of ideas and noodle them over and over and over and over again until I came to a philosophy that I felt so strongly about that I was then, I felt compelled to live. I felt compelled to pursue my mission at that point. And so when you feel like that, it never leaves. And that's just kind of like where I am. And I still fight. Like there's still days I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like I got a shower in a chair, and it's like everything's like project management. So I drop something on the floor and I'm like, can I pick it up with my left hand? Which angle do I have to go at? I got to lock my brakes because I don't want to fall over. And like, what if I spasm? Like, so it's like before I would just bend down and pick it up and go on about my day and not think about it. It would take 0.5 seconds. And now it's like, it's a miniature problem that I have to deal with. And so everything becomes amplified in that way. And so because your activities of daily living get more complex, the whole day is, and it's more taxing. And it gets to me sometimes, but I just have to take breaks and be more aware of like my body and my nutrition. Like I don't eat as much food overall. And I think because I'm not digesting as much, it frees up calories to think, and it frees up like, I don't know. That's just my philosophy. We can talk about that any way you want, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, I love what you said about Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning. I study Stoicism quite a bit, and they talk about that book and a lot of what Viktor Frankl says. And I watched a video, and I can't remember what quote they said, but all the worst things that could happen to us, like we want to say, oh, it happened to me. Oh, this awful thing happened to me. But really, it's like it happened for me. So I was going to ask you, like, when they said you reframe that mission, once you started to reform that for yourself, what are some of the positive things that did for you, like going forward from that, once your kind of mindset shifted?
That's a great question, man. I became more selfless. Life by nature, you're the main character in your story, and so you get wrapped up in that a lot. And I grew up as an only child, and so I often have to battle getting caught up in my own narrative. And so I think what this allowed me to do is step back and say, okay, I'm limited. Now I can empower other people through the things that I do. And, I could have always done that, but, I think I just focused on it differently. And so I became much more interested in other people and what they have going on. And I sought to empower their missions and maybe show them that perhaps they're not as limited as they think. Me and my wife started a business, and we did it just for fun. We didn't set out to start a business. It was not the goal, but we've been able to donate some money to a school nearby that they have a lot of kids who, I think 65% of their population is considered like medically fragile. And so they're in wheelchairs and, have different issues. They don't have a lot of money, man. It's expensive, this life. Insurance doesn't cover much, which is very eye-opening. And a lot of people don't necessarily have the capacity emotionally, financially, or what have you to navigate that. And I'm not a rich man. I grew up with a single mom. She was a secretary for a while. She's now a college professor and has done well for herself. But I didn't come from much, and I don't have like mountains of cash I'm sitting on. But what I do have, I'm willing to share as much of it as I can, comfortably with people, because I don't know. I think if you can eliminate some of those barriers, me doing it on my own, not me, not someone forcing me to do it or forcing their will upon me, like me choosing to empower those that I believe in, I think is important. I think everyone should do that. So I think just reframing myself from being a little more selfish to selfless has kind of been the main takeaway.
Love that.
Yeah, that's cool. You're able to donate to that school. Like that's, you hear everyone, like a lot of people want to pay it forward, give back. Few really do the thing. And when you said, hey, you're the main character of your own story, we don't think about it that way. It is automatically me. So I think that is super powerful, especially when people hear that, insurance, you would think insurance covers a lot. That's supposed to be their job.
Right.
But when you're footing the bill for how you need to live, and then you still give back to others, it's like everyone, I hope, can hear, oh man, I'm strapped. Maybe I'm not that strapped, where I can give a little bit. If you are religious, I can tithe a little more. And the Bible says when you do tithe, when you give to the Lord, when you feel tight, like you will get abundance. So, I know you said you're more spiritual, but I think, when you do give, you get abundance back. Like it's help other people achieve their goals, and vicariously you get yours done too.
I think so too, man. It's the giving and re-giving principle. I mean, if you're Eastern, maybe it's karma. I think it's prevalent, no matter how you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's quite an undertaking. You're, just not just physical changes, but mindset too. Like between the years, like so much is a result of what goes on in our thoughts. And Tim and I are always talking mindset, but this really drives home a different level of it, where it's like the demons you had to battle. Like not everyone, oh, I had a shitty day, blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, you still had a pretty all right day.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you sharing that, man. Like I said, I don't know how hard that is, but I imagine it's never easy to go back through it, and kind of relive that. So I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
For sure. I
And
do have one thought on that, man. So
yeah.
in my judgmental phase, and I still am human, I still do judge people. Like, there are people that complain about things. I'm like, holy shit, you have no idea what I have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I have to like reframe that. But like another thought from Viktor Frankl is to paraphrase, he said, man's suffering is like a gas. No matter how thick the gas, it fills the chamber completely and fully. And therefore, man's suffering fills him completely and fully. And so, when you're in 7th grade and your girlfriend breaks up with you, you're like, oh my God, we've been dating for 2 weeks. That's forever. Like, you know what I mean? It's the end of everything. And, when you're, a kid, you lose your toy. You're like, oh my God, like, you're crying and tantruming, but, it feels the same way. So, I always say, like, a lot of people can look at me and be like, yeah, this was so shitty. Like, what am I to complain about? What do I have to complain about? But realize that it's okay. Like, be kind to yourself, because no matter how thick that gas is, no matter how thick that suffering, it's going to fill you completely. So,
Yeah.
don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So you mentioned you and your wife started a business, Ohio Drip.
Yeah.
Let's jump into that, unless there are any more thoughts on our
It's a good
mindset,
question.
anything. Cool. Yeah, I'd like to jump into how that started. You said you didn't mean to start a business, which is how some of the greatest businesses evolve. But what is Ohio Drip? How did it come about? Where are we at now with it?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, is around the pandemic. And it was, I just got home not too long before that from the hospital, and me and Kelsey like to do things together. Like in the winter, we would be in bowling leagues. In the summer, we do sand volleyball. We play golf together. We just like love getting out and being active together. And we're like, we got to find something to do. What's something we can both do? And she quilts, and something her mom passed down to her. And she's like, well, found something called ice dyeing. I wonder if we could dye some fabric together. You could sprinkle some dye over ice, and maybe we could dye some fabric together, and I can make quilts from it. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. I looked this stuff up online. We're like, let's go for it. So we buy the stuff and we start doing it. And we're like, well, if you buy a bolt of fabric, like a giant roll of fabric, it's a couple $100. And we're like, well, why don't we get some t-shirts first? Try some old t-shirts and see how it looks. And then if we like it and it looks cool, then we'll keep going. And we did some shirts, and we just wear them around because they're just kind of fun just to knock around. And our friends would be like, yo, where'd you get that? Like, oh, we made it. Like, would you make me one? Oh yeah, fuck it. So make some for our friends and stuff. And then eventually they're like, yo, you should drop an Etsy site. And we're like, oh, make some shirts on Etsy. And I think we made like 30 shirts, and we posted them on Etsy. And that first day, I think like 25 of them sold out or something like that. And it's like, okay, there's something to this a little bit. And we went to there's an event called the Polaris Night Market. It was like an in-person pop-up. Like, why don't we make some stuff and go do an in-person pop-up, see how it goes. And we do this pop-up shop and made like 4 figures the first day. And I was like, yo, we should start dyeing clothes.
Like 2 t-shirts, a couple of rocks, and you making 4 figures because you want to have a good day.
Yeah, man. And I was like, we gotta like get the product mix going or something, do some hoodies, do some what have you. And me and Kelsey just start messing around. And and to get to the name, so we were in the garage one day. It started, at our house, and we're in the garage, and basically sprinkle ice over, sprinkle dye over ice, and it melts through and creates like a cool watercolor effect over fabric. And the fiber reactive dyes become a part of the fabric using soda ash as a catalyst. So it's sodium carbonate. It's like a whole science experiment. But in the process, the color kind of drips through. I'm like, oh, look at that drip. And, like, obviously people use it like, like clothes and stuff. I'm like, ooh, like, what should we call it? What should we call it? Like Danley drip, or like, I was like, no one knows who the fuck I am. Like, I don't know, what should we call it? And then I was like, what about Ohio drip? And we just like laughed about it. We're like, yeah, that's a good one, but definitely taken. And we're like, well, let's look it up. So got on Instagram and Ohio.drip was taken. Ohio_drip was taken. Ohio drip 1 was taken. Like everything except Ohio drip. And I was like,
interesting.
Yeah. I was like, okay. Snag. Go to www.ohiodrip.com. Available. What? I buy it, immediately get an offer from GoDaddy, like, hey, this is a pretty desirable URL. Would you like to publish this and see if you want to resell it? And I was like, well, we might be on something here. So obviously didn't sell it. We get the name down, and I just thought it was like super cool. And man, we kept making shirts, and people kept buying them. And then one day, this guy, Mr. Eatwell, reached out to us. He had a clothing company. The comedian Heather McMahon works with him pretty regularly to like make clothing for her and stuff. Okay. He's like, yo, you want to like make some money? And I'm like, sure. What you got in mind? He's like, can you make 250 outfits for us? And we were like, I mean, we were doing like 20 and 30 things before. I guess we could try 250. Yeah. And so we were like, yeah, let's do it. And it's like, what's the turnaround time? And it was like 2 weeks because he wanted to get some stuff for Mardi Gras. Dude, we were dying stuff fucking 24 hours. Like, not really sleeping, just like, getting it going. We're using snow. Oh, dude, yeah, straight up. And so once we did that project, that was, that worked out well. And we were like, we need more space because it's taking up our kitchen. Mm-hmm. And we were like, why don't we just keep reinvesting in the business? We haven't taken anything out of it to this point, but now we have a studio. It's like 2,000 square feet. We have screen printing equipment. We have our own ice machine. Because that was a cost. Every time we were going to the store buying 20-pound bags of ice, having to get the gas to go there. Yeah, it adds up, man. And so I was just like, what if we took all the expensive parts of it and tried to optimize those as much as we can? Soda ash. So it's also a chemical used in pools to help neutralize chlorine. And so if you buy it at a store, pool store, 10 pounds is about $30 or so. But my buddy Darren went to Butler. You know Darren Amberger by any chance?
I don't think so.
He's a little bit older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was a year or two older than me. But his brother, no, he was a year older than me. His brother was 2 years older than me, I think, or something like that. But anyway, his dad sells industrial chemicals and got a soda ash, 250 pounds for $50. And so we just bought a shit ton of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so now I'm just sitting on soda ash, like, and so we just kept optimizing.
Start dealing black market sodium. Who needs what? A pound, 2 pounds. Fed's gonna be listening. What he's dealing pounds.
Hell yeah, man. Be like in the dying community, just like
right.
moving packs.
You're the guy back alleys.
But dude, it's just grown, man. And it honestly got like a little too overwhelming at one point. We've connected with so many cool people. Jay Richardson, who played for the Raiders and played for Ohio State, has a podcast with Maurice Claret and some entrepreneurs from Columbus, the Hartwigs, and they reached out to us to make some hoodies for them.
Oh, damn.
And like once that happened, boom, like some people started following us. And Jacob Collier, the music artist, we went to his concert, got him a hoodie. He wears it like all the time. Like every so often I'll get on his IG and he's just posting a video just like wearing an Ohio Drip hoodie over in the UK. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
2 million followers and a couple Grammys, and I don't know.
So awesome.
You're a global brand now, dude. You're a global brand. So with your space, did you guys build like an addition to the house for the studio, or what'd you do with that?
Nope. We found a office/warehouse that's 7 minutes away from our house. And I found it by like a freak accident. So Columbus is booming right now. I think 40 new people a day are moving to the city. It's nuts. I can't drive around, and it's hard to convince Kelsey. She has so much going on. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to like drive around and look at office spaces? And she's like, maybe someday. So I'm like, dude, it's 2023, or I think it's 2022. We've had it for like a year now. I'm like, I'm gonna get on Google Earth and just do the street view and just walk around. And I just looked at signs on Street View of places that were for lease and started calling people. And this guy answered, and one guy was like, he laughed at me. He's like, what size you looking for? I was like, maybe like 2,000 square feet. He's like, good luck finding something around here. And I was like, all right, man. And so
I
called
hope you
another
called him
guy.
once you landed your spot.
I should call that guy back. Should call him back, man. Send him a picture or something.
Yeah.
This other dude, man, he's like, oh, we actually just had a lease that's up today. He's like, it hasn't even posted yet. You want to come take a look at it? And I'm like, sure. So we go look at it, and we thought it was going to be the spot. It was a little bit smaller than ours now, but the rent was right. And I was like, all right, so let's get it. And he's like, well, actually, like, the people renewed, and they get priority, I guess, like when it came down to it. And so he's like, sorry about that. But they did have another one where these people were moving out after 10 years. And I don't know if he's running a game or whatever, what have you. We still have the spot. But if we got this other spot, it was a little bit bigger. And he's like, yeah, we got this one, a little more expensive, but it's yours if you want it. Me and Kelsey like did the math, and we're like, okay. Even if we make zero revenue, we could still like float it with what our other expenses are, kind of with everything else we have going on. We're like, let's just go for it. It'll bring us some peace of mind. We were waking up staring at inventory. We had boxes stacked in our room. We had stuff in our garage. We had dye all over our kitchen. I had tarp down in my kitchen. My couch was pushed against the wall because we had island in the middle of the living room where we were like working off of, and sewing machines and stuff. And so we were like, we're going to go crazy. Our house is 1,200 square feet. Like, this is not going to work. And so we were like, this is worth the mental space. And we moved, and it just allowed us scale because we were like, we have space to store things. We don't have cats to worry about. And now, man, like, we just keep working on these cool little partnerships. Like, we did one with Necco Foster Homes recently, made some shirts for them to advertise. Ninny Pacifier Co. They make these awesome, like real breast-like pacifiers that are better for children to latch onto, and it's better for their palate and everything like that. And so, yeah, man. So I don't know. It's like these obscure little things that just kind of keep happening and keep rolling.
Dude, that is so cool. I haven't visited your website for a while, to be honest. I need to, because every time you would post like some old school hip hop tie-dye, it was either sold out or you were keeping it. And I was like, damn it, dude. Like the ones I want, the most coveted, I would keep it too. Because I think there's like an NWA one you did, and it was sick. And I was like, hey, how much was that? And you're like, oh, I'm going to keep this one. It was that, or like a Biggie or Pac or something. And I was like, damn, I would too.
Let me know your size, give it to me, man. Either. What's your size?
I'm a
Both
large.
You guys.
Yeah,
you're large?
I'm a large. Yeah.
Medium for me.
Okay.
One day I'll hit that XL, Ryan. One day, baby. Hit that XL. Yeah.
Man. Well, yeah, like we'll talk details like later about like color and stuff like that, but we'll get you guys hooked up.
Cool. Appreciate that. Yeah. That's so how many shirts are you guys doing, or I guess just items in general monthly? What's the scale at right now?
So it really fluctuates, and it's an interesting time because we've been trying to figure out our product mix. T-shirts are a very hard business because some people equate quality with like a thick t-shirt, and some people equate it with a soft t-shirt. Some people like a balance. They're like, oh, if it's too soft and too thin, they're like, oh, that's cheap, I don't like it. Well, you might have paid for more expensive cotton that's spun better, but they just don't, it doesn't resonate with them. So we've had to figure that out. So I'd say we do, each time we drip, we do at least like 24 items, it seems like, and we do like maybe 2 drips a week. And like figuring out the flow is interesting. Like you're like, oh, you own this business, you'd have a better handle on your numbers. But dude, I'm telling you, it's so hard because we'll do like in-person events sometimes, and we'll sell like 9 bucket hats. Then we go to the next event and people won't even look at bucket hats. And I'm like, are they selling well? Like it's so dependent on the day, the time, and who's there. And also Kelsey and I both work full-time jobs. And so
Right.
I haven't been able to market this nearly as effectively as I've wanted to. And it's kind of been a blessing and a curse because while it's hindering us a little bit, it's actually kind of governing growth in a way that allows us to stay sane because it's a lot, man. Like a lot of the
Yeah.
prep work, you have to pre-wash everything, pre-soak it, then you drip it, let it sit for a day, and then rinse it, then wash it. Then Kelsey puts on labels and she sews all those on herself. So
Wow. Wow. It's a
yeah,
lot
That's
of labor.
amazing.
Yeah.
Is it just you and your wife operating the business right now?
Wow.
yeah,
That's
it's just me
awesome.
and her, man.
That's so cool.
We had an intern for a hot second. She was helping us with photography and just different things like that, some like digital things. But she ended up getting a job and getting a boyfriend, and she's young, let her like live her life. But we're interested in finding someone to help us with like digital marketing, like social media.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be the next phase.
Yeah.
That's
But
so
just
cool.
me and her, and my mom comes through every so often and helps us and hangs out. But
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's made the partnership so successful? Obviously, you guys are together, you're bonded that way, but I mean, sometimes it can be difficult to go into business with a loved one, family member, whatever. So how have you guys kind of divvied up the responsibilities, like honed your different strengths and worked well together so far?
that's a great question, man. It looks easier from a distance than it actually is. Like there are definitely, some bickerings that occur and stuff, some differences of opinion, but for the most part, we balance each other really well. And it helps that my wife's a superhero. Like she's so nice, she's so caring, compassionate, and just willing to go the extra mile in things. And so that makes a big difference. Because she's always like kind of wanting to make sure that I'm heard, and we're just trying to like hear each other. And I think that that's important.
Yeah.
Um, she's very pragmatic and like detail oriented, and I am 30,000 feet. I like to think I'm an anchored dreamer, but sometimes I can get a little unrealistic just because I have like high aspirations. But she does a great job of like bringing me back to life, and I don't know, we balance each other in that way, and so
Mhm.
it helps us float that middle path and um, just like make realistic commitments and stuff. And I think that helps.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
being honest about how we're feeling a certain day, I think helps too. So like if we're just having a bad work day or something like that, and it's just like, man, I got a lot of stress from work. Like let's maybe not talk anything big with Ohio Drip today, like from a operational standpoint. Um, and maybe do like more of a creative day to like balance that out. And so
Cool.
Mhm.
Smart.
I think that helps. And then I'm more of an extrovert. Like I do a lot of the peopling, if you will, like phone calls and
Mhm.
ordering and relationships with like some of the different places we have. Um, she is more kind of behind the scenes, like setting things up and obviously sewing and things like that. And so uh, creative, we are getting more into that because again, we were just dyeing fabric, man. We didn't set out to
Mhm.
have a
Yeah.
fashion
Yeah.
business, so that's something we're both learning. But I think that's the other thing, man. She's committed to learning, so
Mhm.
she's taking screen printing classes, photography classes. She just finished garment school to learn how to construct clothing. So she's committed to learning. I think that's been the most important thing, actually.
Mhm.
That's cool. That's cool.
I
And
love
I
it.
think that's really nice that you are like big picture, big visionary, and she'll kind of bring it down a little bit. But when she brings you, quote back to earth, where it's still higher than maybe she would have originally been because you're way up here, and it's like, all right, now it's here. You guys hit this new level, then you dream a little higher, and she brings it down a little bit, but it's still higher than what you just hit. So I think like it's a great balance that keeps you progressing and hitting those high points where like we're big dreamers too. So it's like have the loftiest shit you can think of and let's go.
Yeah.
But it's
Let me
it sounds
ask
like
you
a great
this, man.
balance. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. So, like being big dreamers, do you feel sometimes as if you're never satisfied because you always have this vision of like where you want to go and so
Mhm.
many like ideas, yet they're only 24 hours a day and you can't execute? Like, how do you guys deal with that? I'm curious. Like, do you feel like that at all? And if
That's a great
so,
question.
That's a phenomenal
Do you
question.
want to take it for? I know what I would say. Do you want to take it first, or we can both answer it?
Lead it off for us, and then
Yeah.
I'll get some thoughts together. That's a great one.
That is such a great question, because I always, with me, I write out my days. I write out everything I want to accomplish, and about 1% of the time, I complete all the items on the list. So, and so I think the biggest thing was like coming to terms mentally that I'm not gonna finish this list. But I will say, like, when we have like a thing that we want to achieve, like we want to overcome that mountain, Stoic philosophy, they were saying how, I think Seneca said it, and it's obvious, but like life is just a series of days. So how I look at it is like, if I can just do what I can to win today, that's all that matters to me is today. And like, how am I spending my days? Because it's easy to just want everything in the world right now, but I think it's the mental shift of like, hey, it's okay if I don't complete everything today, but did I average myself higher on the mountain on what I did today? It's kind of how I look at it. It's like, can I just win today? And I think the short term, looking at it from that, is a shift that balances out my long term dreamer mentality. So it's kind of how I look at it.
It's a good one, man.
1% every day.
Yeah.
Taking those bite-sized pieces.
Atomic Habits fans, the 1%. So that's, Tim always says, hey, 1% every day. Just, and it helps to hear it, because it's like we think, oh, I got to get 20% done today. It's like 1%.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the thing is, like, you could lead this life at any moment. You got to let that determine what you do and what you say and what you think. Like, you could put in all the work, and I mean, could die in a car accident tomorrow, but like, can you ask yourself, did I give it my all like yesterday? That's kind of how I look at it too. So
that's a good point,
man, I don't think I'm ever going to be like completely, quote, satisfied. And like, we're all entrepreneurs, so I don't think any of us are going to be, man, I'm done. Like, there's going to be something more to grow, something else to start up. But for me, like, I have certain milestones. So I want to do good every day, but I have different milestones that once I achieve X, I will feel better about the path I'm on. So for example, one of my big goals with my coaching business is to have extreme athletes where I travel to their event. Say I would love big water sports guy. If I had a professional wakeboarder and I was taking care of their nutrition side, but got to travel to wherever they are, maybe it's Florida, maybe it's around the world, and I'm just behind the scenes, doing the food for 3-4 days. Like, that to me, when I am able to go do that, someone's doing, they're racing cars, they're in the X Games. I love X Games. So being the coach for one of those people and traveling to an event is a milestone that once I hit that, I will feel a lot better about the path. Like, that will be a satisfying trip for me. I'll be like, oh man, I'm doing it right now. So that's how I kind of view things. Like, when, don't take this for like me trying to be a professional, but I've been doing jujitsu the last year. And when I would get a promotion, a stripe on the belt, I love it in the moment. I'm like, oh, I've learned things. I've gotten better. Like, this acknowledges like I'm being consistent. I'm working hard at it. I love doing it, but it's all right, time to spar now. And it's gone. So I have an issue with like delayed gratification, I guess, if you will, where like I've competed CrossFit and, placed with a team, and that's cool, but it's all right, it's over. And so it's milestones that I have created where that is what will satisfy me. Like, when I hire someone for the business, I can provide another livelihood. That's a big milestone. All right, I'll feel good about that. And then it's, how can I do it again? So that's kind of how I see my satisfaction, where I'm never going to stop working. I don't think till the day I die, there's going to be something else to grow. I got too many ideas where it's, let me tackle one, have that income flowing, tackle another, create another good stream. So once everything gets on like its own automatic wheel, then I can start something else I want to do. Because I want to do everything under the sun, man. Like, I need 4 different lives to live. But I have milestones of, once it's there, then I can do this thing with another project. Once that is in this particular spot with money or whatever it may be, I can keep moving on and still have enough touches in each thing, but hire people to take care. So it's scale, delegate, delegate. And so, I have milestones that once I hit, I feel satisfied, but I don't think I'll ever be like done, you know,
Yeah.
healthy or unhealthy as that is, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been able to like settle how I feel about it, whether I think it's like good or not. Because you have those fluctuations with like how you feel about how you're doing and stuff. And
Mhm.
I find it interesting, like you talking about milestones. I think I need to get better at that because I'll either zoom really, really far out, or I'll get so caught up like in my day that I don't think about like the middle, like like the trend, I guess sometimes.
Sure.
And so yeah, I think remember that's important. Milestones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if like, one for you could be, what's a desirable partnership for Ohio Drip? Like what kind of industry is your next partner in ideally for you guys?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go with that? Okay, get a partnership in that's a good milestone. But you being wrapped up in the day-to-day things is very good too, because it's those daily things, habit stacking. What are you doing every day? Are you doing the marketing? Like Kelsey's doing the photography classes, the printing, those are very small day-to-day things that have to get done to get your now desired partnership, whatever that may be. So without those, you don't get to that milestone. But yeah, I think milestones are good. Like what's the next big thing to hit? Like you still have your 30,000-foot lens. What's the next bigger thing past a day-to-day? All right. Now what's a day-to-day for the next bigger thing?
Yeah. That's a good point. And as you guys were talking, I think one thing I need to remember is life fluctuates, but as long as the trend is there. So kind of like the stock market, like you're gonna have some down days, and you're gonna have days where maybe your all, like giving your all might look completely different. I'm sure you feel that in the weight room sometimes. Like you go in there, and some days you feel like a beast, and then other days you're like, what happened? Like, like what?
The bar is heavy, man.
Yeah. They switched this out. Like who changed this bar? So life's that way.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're so right. Yeah.
All right, yeah, I want to get, because you do a lot of things already, so I like that we're on this topic of satisfaction and everything we get into. Are you still doing your podcast, Danley and Friends?
That's a sore spot for me a little bit right
sorry.
now.
All right.
No, don't apologize. No, I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just I enjoy podcasting so much, and Danley and Friends was an experiment. So the way it started, I was talking to people like during the pandemic, just about like there's all this social justice stuff going on, and people are just being assholes online to each other and just being ridiculous. Like I'm like, can we not be different and agree? I'm like, I've been friends with some people for so long. We used to like play football together. We used to, hang out. How is it now that because there's a keyboard and a screen between us, people can't talk?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I took it on myself to like have conversations with people that I thought were, perhaps on the other side of an issue than me, just to see if, one, I could do it, two, to show people it could be done. And I started doing that and recording the conversations, and did that on YouTube. I think I did like 10 of them before I started the podcast, and I just want to see if I enjoyed it. And people are like, oh, you should start a podcast. You start a podcast. I'm like, all right, whatever. I had no idea what topic to start it about, so I just called it Danley and Friends. I love Joe Rogan's podcast, man, and I don't care how you feel about him. Dude is fucking paved the way.
Rogan too. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
you're amongst friends, brother.
Big fan.
Okay. Yeah. He's a G, man. So
good model.
I just admired him, and I'm like, he just does what he wants, man. He talks on his podcast about whatever he wants to whoever he wants, whenever he wants. And I was like, I want to do that and just see how it goes. So I started using it as a test. Like, not only can I talk to people who are different than me, but what are the limitations of me? Like one time I did one where I did like voice acting, and I like read this thing, and it was awkward. Cool. It felt weird, but like I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Another time I do some solo episodes where I'm just like going into my thoughts a little bit more. And so I did that as an experiment to test what I liked and have different conversations, feature people who are doing cool stuff. And I got to 99 episodes. I always thought I want to do 100, because if you can do something 100 times, you fucking did it, I forget what percentage of podcasts quit by like the 10th one. That's why you guys have an epic run. Like it, by the way,
appreciate that, man.
No, mad respect. So much respect for what you guys do. And I can't imagine just coordinating your own schedules to make this happen, let alone, the people that you're talking to. People don't think about those logistics and like editing and like, so it was all that, man. It was taking a toll on me with Ohio Drip. And I was just like, I'm not making any revenue from it right now. I am from Ohio Drip. I need to lean into the one where I can get a little more dough so I can get the freedom to do this when I want.
Yeah.
And so that
Smart.
was the choice I made in the short term. Still going to release my 100th episode. And I've written, I think I'm on my 4th iteration of what it is, because I keep like reflecting on the podcast and keep waiting longer. But I want to sunset that, and then I want to do a couple like very focused podcasts. One on mystics of history who are maybe not as popular. So we all know about Jesus and Muhammad and those people who have been considered mystics, but there are people like Dr. Howard Thurman and the guy he learned from that was a Quaker. I forget the guy's name. There's apparently a guy in the Middle East back in the day, I think it was like the 1600s, who quote unquote flew a rocket. And so who are these like mystical people that have existed that have these myths and things about them that we don't hear about? So I think that'll be an interesting one. I want to do like 10 episodes on that. I want to highlight, kind of like you guys do, entrepreneurs. I want the niche to be millennial entrepreneurs who are like mid-career, because I think often we look toward the people who are in career, who have accomplished the goals and stuff. And for some people, they're a little unrelatable. And maybe when they came up, the circumstances perhaps weren't the same. Like the conditions aren't the same. And then, people who are early in their career, it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. Because I think people who are in the middle, who are starting to cook, who are hitting that like elbow of that, parabolic curve, if you will.
Sure.
They're still in the trenches. They still can relate, but they still have those gems that are, modern and can, kind of encourage people and stuff. So I want to focus on that niche for one. And then, and then there's a third one. I've worked in HR for 10 years. No one knows I'm like a DDI trained facilitator. Like I'm certified in facilitation, certified in crucial conversations. I did corporate compensation for a while. I do all these things, and like I just hang out with my friends. I never talk about it because who the fuck talks about their job? But what's the point of like
usually that's
this
one of the questions? Oh, what do you do?
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like how's the weather? Like I don't know. It's just like one of those. It's one of those introductory questions that's just like it's niceties. I get it. Like it's not threatening. You know what I mean? We could all kind of talk about that, but my other side of it's like I hate talking about it, but at the same time, I spend so much of my time doing this stuff, and I've learned a lot. And I take it for granted because, a lot of people don't know how to negotiate salaries, or that you can, or like how to even start, what data to look at. And for me, it was such an everyday thing. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, like, fucking negotiate. Like this is how you look it up. And so I'm like, I got to take these assumptions. And again, when I'm thinking about empowering people, how can I give back to people who maybe don't know that, who haven't worked in a corporate setting, things like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And that goes back to what you said on the very beginning of this podcast about how like your mission is to also like play a role in helping other people achieve their successes too. And I could just tell in the short time I've known you, like you're really well spoken. And I feel like that's a huge gift of yours as well. And yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity with the entrepreneurship aspect of it too. The young professionals and young millennials, especially in like kind of the climate we're in now with like the gig economy and the ability to just play around with the different skills that you have and go like help save someone else time or money or work for them by just doing one specific skill. I think it's such an important thing to highlight with people because there's so many people out there that just don't know what they want to do next. But if they just focused on one skill that either gives them happiness or confidence when they apply it, I think it can make the world just a better place. So yeah, I wish you all the best in doing that part of it. I think that's cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Tim, so Tim does like career coaching. So a lot of topics that you've hit on, some of his videos like on TikTok are hot takes. So I don't know if you ever do any TikTok with just, nugget of this advice, like it, do that, make one for Ohio Drip. Man, I hate being the one now to be bullish on TikTok, but we're both bullish on TikTok. We had a guest on, Tim's buddy Jose, and he's like, if you guys are not on TikTok, you need to be. You can get such a bigger audience. Just figure out how your content hits people and just hammer it. And I'm like, ugh. Yeah. I avoided it forever. And now I'm like, the next big social media thing that comes out, I'm on it day one.
Yeah.
I got to be advantage of first movers, right?
Yeah. Or just like when you're talking about when you are thinking of bringing on a digital marketing person, I think like one thing that you could really do is create content of yourself, just like have the video rolling and you just speak your mind and have that person cut it up into different types of videos, different types of short form and long form content. You can create it. I think just to save you time, having someone like repurpose it in a way that'll reach the type of audience you want will really help you out. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Man, that's a great point. And I don't know why I haven't thought about that. Because that's been kind of like the hurdle is editing takes a lot of time. And so I'm like, I want to, control the message and show myself, be genuine in that. 'Cause I think authenticity wins in a world where we're kind of seem to be moving toward the lowest denominator, lowest common denominator. It seems like everything's getting kind of basic and generic and, modern architecture is even just like kind of plain and boring and just like shiplap and like no details. And it seems like everything's moving that way. So I think having an authentic identity helps you stand out. Um, so I was worried, like, how do I show that if I'm having someone else create this content? But yeah, you're right. I fucking do the video and someone else cut it up. That's yeah.
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 And people do that all day long.
Yeah.
So many people don't cut up their own shit. They roll the camera, mess up 80 times. All right, cut it all out, splice it down, use what we need.
Yeah.
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 Definitely.
So, yeah.
And
Efficiency.
yeah.
You were talking about doing things, just being efficient. That's going to be one of the first tires that I get is someone I hate posting. I hate doing all that. Like, I don't like tedious stuff like that.
Same,
So,
dude.
if you
Same.
can, dude, get a person.
Yeah, I'm so far from like being a boomer, but I guess my most boomer thing has been TikTok, man. I'm just like, I don't understand it. I can't like get on it. Like, I don't, but like now that like to hear you say that,
I was the same way, dude.
seems like a necessity.
I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And now it's, I don't have a huge audience, but it's figuring out how to do your content, what people like that follow you, and tailor it to that and hammer what works. So yeah, I'm still figuring out what works for me. I'll post a bunch of different things. Some podcast clips get 1,000, 2,000 views, maybe a few likes, but it's like, okay, it's moving, so people like watching a good conversation too. So, whenever you start Danley and Friends, hit that too. You got a sweet shirt. You got a few new things, limited edition. Man, you do drops. We have another guy, our buddy K-Swaggin. He does all custom clothing. And he'll work with like a lot of rappers and stuff. And he'll do drops and those will sell like hotcakes. So I even saw a clip recently on Shark Tank. This woman only did drops with her clothes and was making out like a bandit because everyone wants something that no one else can get. Exclusivity sells. Yeah, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
So, but man, I wanted to go back real quick. You talked about when you first started Danley and Friends, you wanted to have conversations with people that you had just differing points of view, which I think is forever going to be, should be relevant. We should always be able to talk with unlike and like-minded people. But especially today, it's such a terrible climate to try to have a conversation with someone without, hearing this headline, that headline, you're this phobic, whatever, you hate America. What's, something that you think we all could do to improve that scenario? Is there anything that you've given thought to that if we implemented something, maybe it's a mindset thing, maybe it's getting rid of social media? What do you think one or a couple of the biggest things that we could do as a society to get back on track with just having differing opinions and being okay with it rather than hating, oh, you hate this, I hate you. Now it's this two-party system, which has ruined all things. What kind of thoughts have you given to our current climate and what could we, if Ryan Danley could fix it, what would he do?
Man, all right. That's a great question. It gives me a high degree of flexibility. I think from a mindset standpoint to address that, if everyone started from a place of genuine curiosity, I think it would diminish a lot of tension. So even if someone thinks completely opposite of you and you think they're a psychopath, if you start from, instead of being like, oh, they're fucking psycho and write them off and like, I hate them and, screw them, What if you're like, how the fuck can someone think that way? And start that you can still be mind blown by how they're there. But it's like, how in the heck can you come to these conclusions? And if you realize that as strongly as you feel about your position, someone else on the opposite side that thinks completely the opposite of you feels as convicted for reasons for which they feel are evidence as well. You know, they have their facts that they're working off of. So I'm like, yo, what facts do you have? You know, what are you working off of? Because maybe my facts aren't the best. I'm just assuming that, you know, maybe my assumptions are poor. And so you can look at it, you know, as a way of improving yourself. Yeah. So I think the only danger in that is I either come out solidified in my position because I've learned more, and in the face of that, I felt stronger, or in the face of new information, I have the ability to change, and thus I become better. So there's no
scares
lose.
people. It's scary to have your mind changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh
yeah, keep going.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna add on to that. Like, I feel like people, I mean, they'll be influenced by you if they perceive that you're being influenced by them. And what you said about like coming from a point of learning, if they perceive that, like, even though you may not agree with them on something, if they perceive that you're open to learning and you're open to listening and paying attention, and they perceive that what you think they're saying is important, I think it'll just be a better like overall conversation, even though like you may end up like agreeing to disagreeing. So yeah.
And you can.
I like that mindset that you take though. Like learn, constantly learn.
You. And I think people want to be heard and understood. And if you walk away still in your own positions and you each were heard and understood, like, oh, yeah, I like that person. We don't agree on everything, but you can still like people and not agree on shit. It's like, you know, you say you lost friends. It's like, man, everyone's going to think differently. It'd be lame as hell if we all thought the same.
It would suck, dude. It would be like, so boring.
There's no excitement in that.
Yeah.
Let's get a little fiery today.
Yeah.
You know,
like I have friends who are like so different. Like my one buddy, TJ, he's my homie. I get like, we can talk about anything. He's super libertarian. He doesn't believe the FDA should exist. He actually moved to Mexico because he's like, yo, they have less regulation. I hate the way the US is going. He's like, I think it's going to be a Marxist revolution. I'm out of here. And he pieces out and he moved his family to Mexico. His wife just had a baby. Nice. And that's him. And I have another friend who he believes a lot of things. He believes healthcare should be free for all. And I understand it from like a compassion standpoint. But sometimes gets a little more wrapped up in the emotional side of things. And I think they're the opposites. I think sometimes people see conservatives as like completely heartless and liberals as like bleeding heart. You know, that's the word that saying came from.
Sure.
But it's like there's some truth in the middle. We both got facts that are good. That's why I guess you can call this a liberal take if you want, bro. I guess I identify as apolitical. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I was like, I'm over it. I don't want to be, I'm not anything. Let's talk about the issue, and how I feel about it may fluctuate because who fucking knows, you know?
Yeah.
I have feelings about things. Like, I don't know. For me, like, I guess like my most conservative take is I believe in constitutional carry. Like, if you can have a gun, so should I. You know, I should be able to protect myself. Like, life is dangerous. Like, if we really think about what all this is without society, we're just out here in nature. I should be able to have guns. So that people feel certain ways about that with like kids and stuff. But on the other side of it, like, I don't know, if you want to marry whoever you want to marry. Like, honestly, people are like, oh, we're going to be marry animals. I'm like, fuck it, dude. If someone wants to marry a cow, like, let them. What does that have to do with me? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
as long as it doesn't hurt other people, or, you know, people are safe, like, whatever, dude. You like what you like.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. There's a comedian, Michael Shea, that talks about it. He's like, you know, he's making love to the cow and I'm eating it. I don't know which one's doing the worst thing. You know?
That's so funny.
Man, I had a barber years ago that I think he shared something on his Instagram, and, you know, these dudes were tatted neck down, but pro live how you want, leave other people alone, you know. And he posted something that said, I just want my gay friends to protect their weed plants with their assault rifles. And I was like, huh. I know not everyone is going to agree with every component of that, but like the sentiment of it, like the value of what you're saying behind it. Can people really argue that?
Right.
Hey, cover all the bases. Let people live the life that they want to live. It doesn't harm you.
Live and let live.
All right,
Facts, man.
Any other thoughts? Anything else that you think is fixable that should be implemented in the world of Danley?
So I think to tie back to your notion of like milestones and things like that, and the conversation that we were having earlier, Tim, you're talking about setting your day up and everything like that. So I think if everyone came up with their own system for improving the world and focused on that, no matter what scale it is, some people are going to be able to change countries, influence world politics. Some people can influence their family, and that is all they have the capability and the mental capacity to do. However, when you add all that up, it creates a better world. And so no matter, like, to me, if you spend the energy that you take like hating and fighting against people and you put it into your cause, whatever it is, the world has to get better and things get eliminated. So you can be the most racist person in the world. Instead of being like, oh, blue people are the best people in the world, I'm going to go kill everyone else. Fucking show me blue people are the best. Go hard. Build the best businesses. Build the best communities. Put most of your people, like support most of your people. Show me how many people you can support. The world gets better. It doesn't even matter.
It's phenomenal insight.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you improve the world? Go do it.
Yeah.
Everything will get a little bit better.
Yeah. Decide what is up to you and decide what is not up to you.
Wow.
Continuously. Yeah. That's so
good, man. Danley 2024 or 28? What are we talking here?
Man, I don't want these problems.
Yeah, I don't blame
you. You wake up, 330 million people in the country. You wake up 150 million or 180 million of them hate you or what have you.
They don't get paid.
You want you to die.
Enough.
Yeah. 500,000 a year ain't worth the problems, bro.
Not even worth it.
Nah, you can't can't make any mistakes. Anytime you're in public, people taking pictures of you. You gotta, you can't get too mad at someone that freaks out on you. People can say outlandish things to you. You have to kind of, keep it moving.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
Not your boy. Man. I could be a governor, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, yeah. Man, we could use one of those. You want to jump borders real quick?
Hey, who knows?
But yeah, I'd like to get into other things. So you talked about DJing earlier. Still doing that? I came across your song Wave. Now, I don't know how old that is or not. Like, I just perused your link tree, honestly, and I didn't know you had a song out. Did you help sing that too?
Yeah, man. So
dude, I thought you did. I was like, okay,
that's me on the track, man. It's just something I've always done. I just like music, and a thing I think that's been a weakness early in life that's kind of paid off later is I've never taken myself seriously. And so I guess like I didn't think that a rapper was like a real career. I was I don't do this. I need to get a job. Like I need to go like be a person. But I just enjoyed doing it because I liked music and I liked rhyming and I had a affinity for it. But I don't know. I just like kept it going, and I've always DJ'd, I've always produced music, and I've always just kind of like made songs in the background, but never thought of myself as like an artist, it's just a hobby of mine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You got any more, like, are you making any other music right now? I know you're really focused on Ohio Drip. Anything you're working on? Like, are you still DJing events, stuff like that?
Yeah. So I started back DJing actually. Interestingly, a guy, my buddy Josh Whitaker, you know Josh, right?
Yeah, I know Whitaker.
Yeah,
dude. Funny side story. One year, him and my brother driving back to Butler together. It's like their maybe freshman, sophomore year. And his dad drops him off at my parents' place, and they're going to roll together. And he just starts playing the piano in our house. like out of nowhere. First time meeting this cat, just starts playing the piano. And then, you know, time goes on. I'm going through high school. I go visit Ryan. And then it's like, bitches love bagels, you know? It's like, oh, he played my family's piano just out of nowhere. First meet. I'm going to rip these keys real quick while you guys are packing up the car.
You know, nice to meet
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah. So I love Josh Whitaker. Yeah.
Hell
Continue.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. That's my boy, man. And I mean, he does bring that energy to like everything. He's just himself, and that's what I love about him. Me and him made songs throughout college and stuff, and have made some as recently as like last year. I think we made a song together, and we just kind of do it for fun. He's actually like he wrote a song with Currency, like the rapper, and like actually has tracks out in the world. Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's a real cool. Yeah, same. He flows.
Yeah.
I'm a human resources guy that makes clothes and, you know, DJs, but I DJ'd his wedding. So
nice.
In October, he asked me if I would.
Sweet.
And I was nervous about it, bro. It was like 6 months before it. And I was like, maybe I just pay for a DJ for him, dude. Like maybe I just like maybe I just schedule someone else, because I was nervous. But at the end of it, he told me he wasn't sure what he expected, but that was exactly what he wanted. And I thought that was the coolest compliment.
That's cool. Yeah.
Oh
dude,
yeah, I love that.
Like one of your homies' biggest days of his life. Like that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, man. But it was fun to get back in the saddle. You know, I've done weddings. I've done like I like DJing friends' parties because you don't have people like requesting stuff too much. It's just kind of fucking around. Like you can mess up, so you can try crazy things, but you know, you don't mess up too bad, but you can just be absurd. So yeah, I like doing stuff like that. So cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Josh Whitaker, dude. Shout out. Shout out to the big guy, man. That's awesome. Man, you talked about you say you're just an HR guy, but you know, you said you do a lot with that and you never talk about it. Anything with your day job that you want to bring to light, you think is prevalent that you really want to highlight on the show?
Sure, man. Right now my job is pretty interesting. I do strategy and planning for the corporate compliance and ethics department for American Honda. And so what that entails is everything from budget and business plan for our department to our communication calendar and organizing campaigns, designing training, working with training vendors, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's for all of North America. So Canada, Mexico. So I have to know all their like laws and regulations. I'm working with people that speak different languages. I have to get things translated into those languages. So French Canadian, Latin American, Spanish, and also Japanese, because we have a large Japanese population. And so I get to work with all the executives from these plants to fulfill their, you know, not only make sure people are following policy and, you know, we're getting training completed and things like that, but also that people are acting with integrity. So you get to influence the culture. And I'm talking to big guys, and it's cool. And no one knows that I do that because I don't like find much significance in it, because I don't consider myself my job. It's just something I do to make money so that I can invest in the stock market and real estate and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
But I do that, man. I did compensation for an entire manufacturing plant by myself. And this was before Microsoft Teams. This was before that era. My person that knew the job before me moved to Ohio, and we only had cell phones, and she was always in meetings and stuff. And so I had to run compensation for a plant of like 4,000 people, making decisions on, you know, who gets paid what, doing equity adjustments, stuff like that. Obviously with the help of like management, but yeah, I was doing that in my 20s, bro. Yeah. And it's just been cool. Like I got to do talent development. That's what brought me to Ohio. So I was traveling to our different plants and teaching classes to people. I taught our early career leadership development program. So we have 3 tiers. It's like early career, mid-career, and like, you know, executives. I facilitated the early career one. So I was,
that's cool.
You know, and I did that for like one of the biggest companies. And I just think that's cool, man. And I don't get to talk about it. So
yeah. And that's a big pay it forward thing too. You know, like training other people who are coming up, right? Like, and Tim and I have talked to a couple other HR people on the show. And, I will admit, I had no idea HR was past hiring and exit interviews, you know what I mean? And then we talked to our guy, Tim Roberts, who is now working at Butler. He was HR for Anthem. You oversee acquisitions and mergers. And it's, then we talked to my friend Bridget, who she's also a client. She's at Roche. And HR is a wild environment, dude. So there's a lot that goes into it. And if people don't know, it is super fascinating. At least I think so. Where it's, man, you guys are in the thick of almost every part of that business. Exactly how it all runs.
You have to. It's people operations. And you're also dealing with the psychology of folks, which is difficult because my department also acts as our internal affairs. And so all the cases that aren't normal HR cases, whether it's something with an executive or whether it's sexual harassment or something that's a little more complex, that all comes through my office. And so it's a very interesting world.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what people do at work, man.
I don't know. These days, there's not a lot of surprises anymore.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
People are wilding out right now.
If they're there for 40 hours a week, they're bound to do something.
Yeah.
So how would you guys fix the world, man? How, based on what you're seeing and
look
stuff?
Look at the time, Ryan. You want me to go first?
We don't have to get into it.
I made you go first last time.
Yeah, no, I got an answer. You go first.
Yeah. There's so many ways I could. I'll hit a few things quick. One, I think we need term limits for politicians, top to bottom. We have a handful of roles within, your municipal government, your big government, that there are term limits, but I think everyone needs them. But I don't know if it'll ever happen because you need a constitutional amendment to do so. But I think having term limits would fix a lot of things. I love how you talked about people just need to be curious. Why do you think that way? Instead of, I hate that you think that way, so I hate you. No, man, look, everyone's trying to figure it out. Life isn't easy. It's a rough go. So that I think technology is a blessing and a big curse too, where it's allowed people to be super vicious, where in person, they'd probably have a kind conversation. And I think at the end of the day, there's a big component of people are not working on themselves. Everyone thinks they're perfect, right? Politics is like war. No one thinks they're wrong. It's so I think we need a little more ownership, but I think people also need to look at themselves and think, what can I do for myself that would make me a little bit better? Why am I not open to hearing this person out? I don't have to agree with their opinion or have the same, but why can I not even listen to this thought? And I think it's a big component of people don't know what they want, who they want to be, who they are, and there's, umpteen different traumas everyone goes through in their lives. But I think people are not looking at themselves as an issue either. And it's everyone else's fault. And I think if people looked at themselves and got a little more humbled on their own, that would also fix a lot of things and would allow for more open conversation. But I think people need to look inside a little more. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I have invested a lot of time and money into getting help from outside eyes to help me with my shit too. So I think if more people did that, that opened a lot of different doors and we'd have a lot of different conversations. Man, but I also think us all doing this is we need to show people that we can talk about different things. And it's not if someone brings up a political thing at a party, don't oh, hush. I get it. You don't want to kill the party vibe. But if you have a conversation on the side because someone just wants to talk about it, don't dismiss it as this huge, no. It's part of life, man. Talk about things that are going on. So yeah, a few quick thoughts, but yeah.
I love that.
Tim, how would you change the world?
Yeah, I'll do with the one mindset thing and then the one practical thing. I think mindset, you hinted at this a little bit, it really all comes down to commonality. We're all living in one big organism, and what's bad for the organism is bad for everybody. What's good for the organism is good for everybody. So I think that with everything, there's peels of the onion to everybody's point of view and why they do a certain thing. it's like you said, understanding why people do a certain thing. And then I think that'll get you to the root after you peel all the layers that we're really all trying to accomplish the same thing here. So I just think it's hard to enforce that in the moment when you're talking to people, but I think that will help the conversations better. And then I wish there was like a universal law where like everybody has to take 10 minutes out of their day and write and journal for 5 minutes at the beginning of their day and 5 minutes at the end of the day. Because I think the biggest thing is like people don't feel understood. I think that's the biggest thing. And Anne Frank said that paper is more patient than people. Because like when you write down, like the paper is always going to listen to you. The paper is never going to interrupt what you're saying or let you, it's always going to let you finish your thought. So, and I think people like assume that like they got to write about a certain thing. So I just think overcoming that, just you can write about anything. Like what, like if you were to have a conversation with anybody, like what would you tell them? So 5 minutes at the beginning of the day, and then at the end of the day, put your day up for review and ask like, did you follow through on what you did at the beginning? So
Big time.
yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's big time, dude.
Drop that mic, Tim.
I know. Paper is more patient than people.
Ooh, and Frank on that shit.
You know, killing it from the attic. And
yeah, she's been through she's been through hell. So
speak of legacy, man. I mean, that's crazy. You know, people think they can't make an impact, but this little girl, you know, writing her thoughts like that, mind blowing. But, I mean, I guess, you know, as you're saying that, I was thinking, I think people also wonder about judgment. Like they feel shame and they don't want to feel judged because exile is one of the worst things that can happen to a person. That's why like cancel culture, like people, you know, canceling people it's so detrimental or what have you. I don't know. But paper also doesn't judge, man. So say you have an outlandish thought, sort it out, write it out, come back to it.
Yeah.
And if you still think it's outlandish, cool. If not, then I don't know, maybe you're solidified in it. But it gives you that freedom to explore, I guess. That's good. I love that.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like you can, and I like going back to something I wrote 3 months ago, and that's the beauty of it. You can always revisit something, and you've lived 3 months of life, and you look at the world a different way, and you can always go back and like nurture a previous idea that you had. But yeah, it's crazy what you're really capable of when you put the pen to paper. But most people like it's tough to just like find time to do that because we have all the day-to-day things, the fires we got to put out. But I wish everybody could feel what it's like to be able to do that for a certain amount of time and how much clearer your head actually gets. So, because it's not going to happen overnight either. Like you'll write for a couple days and you're like, oh, this is boring. This is stupid. But like, just stick with it for a little bit longer. I think it'll help a lot more people than what people think. So,
yeah. And so what I really love about that is the time frame that you put on it is so practical. Like 5 minutes at the beginning and end. I always got 5 minutes. You know, if you need 5 minutes from me, we can have a phone call. Like I can always make 5 minutes. And I think once people realize that, it makes it easier. And that's kind of the philosophy, like bringing it full circle too, is when it comes to like, you know, donating or like giving to others, like you may think you lack, but there's a number that, you know, if something's, I don't know, $5, you got it all day. Something's $10, you got it all day. You know, there are these numbers, you have your personal limit where you're like, oh, you know, I can come off of that any day. So just give it up. So there's a quilter, Victoria Finley Wolf. She talks about 15 minutes of play in terms of like, you know, releasing your creativity and kind of getting in your zone, honing your skills. It's like, if you just do it for 15 minutes, maybe you do it for 15 and you're done. But maybe that leads to an hour and you kind of, you know, really, really get to play. So I like that increment, man. 10 minutes, you know, 10, 15 minutes a day, you're good.
Yeah. It's and you hit it. Like some days you may feel like that hour is what you needed. Some days 2 minutes is just enough. So that's the beauty of it. Our minds are all wired differently. So
damn. Tim, I think I might have one more question before we go to our last. Do you have any other questions for Ryan that you want to hit on?
No, I think I'm good with my notes. I think we've covered a lot of great things today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm good on my end.
Ryan, yeah. So we always ask people, you know, you have a question you ask at the end. We got a question. I have one more, but I want to make sure that if there's any other thoughts that you want to share too, for the people listening, anything you want to get out, put it on the mic. Want to make sure we hit all points you want to as well.
It's a good question. It may seem out of left field, but
We love these.
my dominating thought right now is to convince as many people that I can to take as much vitamin C as their body will tolerate. High doses of vitamin C gets electrons into the body, builds collagen. It's great for recovery. There's some schools of thought that metabolic disease, a lot of metabolic diseases can be reversed or remedied or at least managed with high doses of vitamin C. And there is a school of thought that cancer and things create a localized form of scurvy, essentially. Also with like heart disease. So the mouth is important. So I guess that's maybe my other one. Dental health is important, floss. But infections of the mouth and the tonsils usually leak bacteria and pus and things like that down into the heart. And they find that in like hardened arteries and stuff like that, there's often bacteria from the mouth. So and those bacteria feed on ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and it creates, again, a localized lack of vitamin C or localized scurvy essentially in the heart. These are theories that are floating around. Vitamin C has never harmed anyone. There's a lot of research on it. So I think that's a big one for me. It's we talk about antibiotic resistance. Vitamin C gets rid of a lot of things that antibiotics help.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Tim, what was
Diet Coach? What are some quick foods that rich vitamin C foods?
I mean, your
love
citruses.
love that.
Your citruses.
Oranges.
Easy.
Oranges every morning, baby.
Now I don't recommend orange juice unless
Yeah.
you're gonna freshly squeeze it yourself, because there's just so much other sugar added. Like orange juice itself is gonna be sweet. So juice it yourself. I wouldn't recommend buying it from the store. I mean, look, a little bit here and there isn't going to kill you, but I remember as a kid, dude, I was always drinking orange juice. It's delicious, but dude, sugar is the killer of all things.
Yep.
I think this says like sugar kills more people than like cocaine and other hard drugs. But so I love
it's on the same part
vitamins.
of the brain too, man.
Yeah, I love where you went with this. Tim, what was your streak? You were doing a vitamin C packet every day.
Yeah.
He did one of the like you put it in water, like 1,000 milligrams. So what was your streak?
I don't even remember, but I did it for so long.
Why'd you stop? You never got sick. You were never sick.
Because I found like more because I just foods I gravitated just.
You got a nutrition coach.
Even though vitamin C, the packet isn't bad, but I saw that it did have added sugar in it.
Oh,
that's kind of why I stopped.
Oh, okay,
but
that's fair.
You want to get to as natural as possible.
Yeah.
Things that are to like that, like as close to its original form.
Yeah, yeah. So your citruses are going to be the best go-to. Now I do supplement with vitamin C. I get it from Thorne, THORNE, very reputable supplement company. I've been not it's been very recent, but I've seen a lot of things about iodine and how iodine deficiency is also a major unspoken problem that people don't know they have. But with that, you also need to check selenium levels. Again, I don't know a lot with this yet, but recently I've seen more about it. And someone asked me about iodine. I'm like, I don't know a lot about it. So that's my current supplement journey I'm going to go down is that. But yeah, I think vitamin C, vitamin D as well, super beneficial. Magnesium, most people are shy on magnesium, but if you're going to supplement with vitamin C, just get a good source. Yeah, Thorne is really good. But yeah, I like where that went.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Good point to touch on.
I've heard that with cancer and stuff too, and I've seen it looks like an older video, a couple of them where doctors are talking about putting hydrogen peroxide in the saline drip bag for cancer patients. Yeah, this one doc, he had like 3% hydrogen peroxide in saline. And there was another doctor that I saw, he was in an interview. Yeah, this video looks at least 10, 20 years old. And he's like, hundreds of cases. And they go through like real problematic cancers, like pancreatic cancer. He goes, cured, hydrogen peroxide. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying to go do that. So this is no medical advice. But now I have some different wormholes I'm very curious about going into. So iodine, and hydrogen peroxide. But yeah, vitamin C is huge.
Heck yeah. There's a really old school looking website called dryourself.com that I check out pretty regularly. And they have a lot of research on like vitamin C and lectures and stuff on there. And I've spent so much time on that. And
Yeah,
I'm convinced, man. I think the diet, like you said, getting as close to natural form as you can. A dude that I listened to, Thomas Levy, said you can't dry off in the shower. So you can't improve your metabolic health if you're still continuing the habits and patterns that are contributing to it, like eating sugar, like you guys are talking about, and inhaling, toxins, or what have you. I know I use the word toxins, and some people feel a certain way about it because they're like, "Oh, you're just saying toxins," but like it's just a general word I'm using for things that contribute to oxidative stress in the body.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, I love that point. I love that. Anything else, Ryan, that you want to share with the audience? Because that was a hell of a knowledge bomb. You got any more of those?
I mean, from that, in the same spirit of that, I've been looking at magnesium L-threonate. It crosses the blood-brain barrier a little bit better. And with me having a spinal cord injury, I'm hoping to get some more magnesium into my cerebral spinal fluid. Methylene blue, I've been taking some of that. I just started that a week ago. So I'll report on that and let you know how it goes. But in a different spirit, I would say follow your North Star, I think is just what I want to walk away with. And I think, people look at general things like exercise and they're like, oh, I don't want to weight lift. I'm like, okay, just move. What if you take a dance class? What if you take yoga? What if you take swimming? What if you just move your body? That's all that matters, is keeping your joints healthy and, keeping movement in your body, blood flowing. So follow your North Star. What are you interested in from a topic standpoint, from a charity standpoint? Maybe you want to save fucking, I don't know, Brazilian crawfish. I don't even know if that's a thing, but like somebody's got to do it. If that's what you want to do, you know what I mean? Go for it, man. But I think follow your North Star. I know it's not as much of a knowledge bomb, but
no, it's huge.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
I think people get sidetracked from it.
Yeah.
And it's like, do what you really want to do.
That's the only thing that's going to keep you going when it gets hard, because none of it's easy. You're going to wake up and be like, what the fuck? Why am I doing this? Why did this happen to me? Why should I keep going? But if you really truly love that thing, you'll carry yourself through those times. And so, yeah.
100%.
Love it.
100%. All right, man. We always ask everyone before we take off is, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who made the lives of those around him doper. Much better, much more improved. No matter, what their North Star is. If they, if my niece wants to take dance lessons, I'll get her some shoes. Some, like, I don't know, whatever it is, whether it's emotional support, financial support, just being there. I just want to make everyone's life around me better. I want people to say that at my funeral. Damn, when he's around, stuff was better.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
That's awesome. All right, brother. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Your sharing, your storytelling. People are going to get a ton of value off this episode, 1000%. So we really appreciate it, man.
Hey, likewise. It's an honor. Much appreciate you guys having me on. I'd love to mastermind with you guys. Whether it's on it doesn't have to be a cadence, but maybe it could be a quarterly basis or something, just to chat what you guys are doing, spitball ideas, and just get some different perspectives on what I'm doing, because I've picked up a lot of gems from you guys as well. So
yeah,
cool.
Likewise.
Yeah, would love to. Yeah, we should definitely work on getting a schedule going.
Yeah,
100%.
Nice.
Love what
Cool.
you're about.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Ryan. Have a good one, bro. We'll get this over to you probably in next week or two.
Okay, perfect, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Awesome.
see you, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care.